It's Wednesday, the 10th of June, and it's a TiLT webinar with Julia Morris, Escape, how to create escape rooms with Google Sites for language lessons. So we're delighted that Julia can be doing this for us. She was going to be coming for real in the flesh in April, and we couldn't have this event, and she's accepted to come along now, which is great. So I'm Helen Myers, chair of the London branch. We're very happy that Linguiscope supports us. We were going to be having a conference where they were going to be paying for our food, actually, but still very supportive. And we have Jo Dale, and this, because I'm starting to cough. Jo, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'd love to. Thank you, Helen, ever so much. Hopefully your cough is better soon. Yeah, so I'm going to be the digital bouncer in today's session. So I'll be checking that everyone is behaving themselves and muting their microphones and checking the questions as well. So if you do want to add a question into the chat, can you put the letter Q in front of it? That'd be much appreciated. So yeah, I'm an independent languages consultant, and I sort of do a bit of scouting and find people who I think that the community will find interesting and useful in these strange times we live in at the moment. And I must say we've got lots of exciting sessions in addition to this one coming up in the next couple of weeks, but I will announce that once they've all been confirmed. I also do this as a full-time living, running training on the use of technology and languages. And as I've done in the previous sessions, I'm just sharing a link in the chat on 18 example sessions that I could deliver via webinar on remote teaching ideas. Please share those with your department. If you'd be interested in asking me to do a session for you, you know how to get in contact with me via Twitter or via email, and I would love to hear from you. And that's a little bit about me. Over to you, Helen.
And we can definitely promote Jo. You all know Jo anyway, but that would be great value for money to have him along to help you. Are you a member of ALL? Please write now if you're a member of this association. Encourage others to. And as a special offer, if you join using this code, webinar10, you will get 10% discount on your membership. So, and also it's a lovely way for us to know that people were drawn to the association through the experience of a webinar. Everything that you'll see tonight will be available on our webinar site there, including the recording. The recording is hosted on Jo Dale's YouTube site. If you go here, it'll be embedded. It's still meaning that he's getting hits on his site. And then, of course, you can go and watch it in his area as well. I know you've got loads of followers now, Jo, so it's great to know. Loads of videos to watch there. Coming soon. Do you want to talk about this, Jo? Advertise?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So we have the amazing Chris Hart, who those people that have been teaching for a while will remember. So he's from the northeast of England originally, and still has his roots and his accent there, which I'm delighted to say. But for quite a few years now, he's been living in Melbourne, which is why we have him zooming in at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's UK time, BST. So on the 12th, which is only a couple of days away on Friday, you'll have the opportunity of hearing about Chris talking about Google tools, in particular, virtual reality tools. So he's going to be showing us how to build our own virtual adventures using Google Tour Creator, looking at Google Expeditions, looking at My Maps and how to make your own interactive map, including your own multimedia content, and some ideas around directions in Google Street View as well. So an absolutely must-see webinar on Friday. And the other exciting ones that I mentioned, we'll talk about those later on Twitter, etc. So come along on Friday, you won't regret it. If you're teaching at that time, as with all the other webinars, they'll all be recorded, so you'll be able to check it out in your own time on my YouTube channel.
And if you could put in your diary the 20th of June, that's a Saturday, and that's a live event, and we're not recording it. This is something where it's in place of the June event that we were going to have at the Institut Français. So great speakers, Dr. Rachel Hawkes, Wendy Adeniji, and Nadine Chadier. So, but there'll be other things coming up too. We always make a point of saying this. We make no apology for the fact that we are polite, we're kind, we're professional. So that's what we're like. And we have to say always that we're happy to host speakers and participants free of charge, and we're all responsible for what we say. So, Jo, would you like to introduce? Oh gosh, I've got the wrong title there. No, I'm not Carmen at all. Here I am.
Oops.
Organised.
It's all good. Well, we have the lovely Carmen Kiros. No. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome Julia Morris, who I've known personally for a few years now, and she's a regular at our TiLT events, our face-to-face events. So we were delighted when, unfortunately, our event was cancelled in April, that she agreed to do a webinar around her use of escape rooms, which I know she's been using for quite a few years in the languages classroom. So Julia is currently teaching in Somerset at Millfield School, and she's going to walk us through how to create escape rooms using Google Forms and Google Sites. And we deliberately asked Julia to do this because we thought it would complement really nicely the session that we had from Carmen last week on Genially. And I'm sure in the next couple of weeks we will see more examples of escape rooms made using Google Forms and Google Sites. So it's my absolute pleasure to welcome Julia to the TiLT webinar today on the 10th of June. And we're very much looking forward to finding out how to use Google Forms and Google Sites to make escape rooms. So over to you, Julia.
Hey, hello. Well, thank you for coming along. And as Joe said, it doesn't really matter if you've been to last week's session with Carmen or not. I will explain everything I do. So if you haven't seen last week's, you might still get some ideas on how to use Genially, which is the website that she was introducing. But yeah, you can combine the two things as well. So I'm going to focus mainly on using Google Sites and Google Forms and how to use them kind of as digital logs. And also I want to focus a little bit more on the actual puzzles and where to get ideas and resources for it as well, maybe. So we're going to start with Helen actually playing a little escape room. So this is quite an important part of the presentation, really, because it gives you some ideas of what it looks like, what it feels like for the students, maybe, and yeah, some ideas what kind of activities you can have and how to connect it with languages. But it would work with any subject as well. So you can just change the content of the puzzles, obviously. So Helen hasn't seen the puzzle before, and it is in German. So this is a shorter version of one that I made for year 10 German on the topic of food, but it also has some other bits in, like hobbies and so on.
And one thing I'm going to do before we go any further, I'm going to just check because I want to move it so it's on my main screen. If I move it, can you still see it?
Not at the moment.
No. Okay, so I'm going to do a stop share. I'm going to reshare. I was trying to be clever, but then wasn't managing it very well. So I'm going to stop. I'm not showing a screen now, am I?
No.
No. So I'm just about to. Sorry about this.
Okay. Well, if anyone wants to play along and see the website, you can also scroll up in the chat. It was the very first thing that was posted. Hopefully you can still see it at the beginning of the chat, and then you can see it, play along, see if you're faster than Helen or not. But the idea is that you help her a little bit as well. So it's audience participation. So she has to pretend to be and not very good at German students.
It's not going to be too difficult to do that.
You're the clever ones, the teacher's pets who will help her along with the tasks, hopefully.
Okay, so I'm just about to share. For some reason, I've got a little bit of a problem with my screens. I will be there with you in 1 minute.
Okay.
I don't know.
I can say that in the escape room, so I've been doing them for a few years, as Joe said. So most of the escape rooms I've created are meant to be used in the classroom with the teacher there. And I quite like have a combination of some paper puzzles and some online puzzles. So I will give them a worksheet with a cut out jigsaw puzzle or a crossword puzzle or something. And then they have to do that in real life and then put the answers in the website. So it just works as the lock. But obviously now with lockdown, all of my puzzles can be done online only as well. And I'm just about to change them a little bit so you don't need PowerPoint for them anymore, which sometimes I've used in the past, but maybe not all students have that on their devices. So I'm trying to incorporate more of the Genially activities because they're all online only. But obviously teamwork is best for this. So even if you're doing it remotely, if you at all can, I would encourage you to try and put the students into teams. So if you're using Microsoft Teams, you could, for example, make several channels for them and say, okay, you 3 people, you go in channel 1, you go in channel 2 and work on this together, for example, or Google Hangout, I guess, has something like that as well. But if not, then the students just have to do it on their own at home. Okay, you ready?
Can you see findet den Spion?
No, we can see Stonehenge.
Oh, right. Okay. I'm really sorry about this. I don't know why this is sort of meant to do it properly. So,
Stonehenge would also be a good theme for an escape room.
And have you shared the link in the chat? Have you shared the link in the chat, Julia? Sorry, because
yes,
I can't see it. Could you do that again? Because I couldn't see it. Sorry.
Let me see.
Thank you.
There we go. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. That's great. Thank you.
right. So introduction Google Chrome. I think that's what it is. There. Does that work? Right.
There you
Okay.
go.
That was me trying to be clever, moving screens halfway through. Having set it all up, I suddenly thought, no, I want the big screen. So,
yeah.
Okay. So, was soll ich machen?
So all my escape rooms normally start with a video that either I find one for the topic, but normally I just make them myself to kind of get them really into the mood of the escape room and make it clear to them that this is kind of like a film or like a game. And I'll talk about it in a second how to make them. So maybe you can start by watching at least some of the film. And then
Right. Would you like me to make it a bit full screen or just leave it like that?
Yeah. Have you got the sound? Oh, yeah, the sound is there. I don't know if you can read what it says, but.
Access granted. Then also That's lovely. Right, I'm all fired up now. So
okay, then scroll down a little bit. Then there should be a start button.
Oh, yes. You can see what I've been watching recently, can't you, there?
I'm glad it's not my view history.
Wo ist der Spion? So, are you going to talk me through, or shall I just ask you to join in?
I think I'll just let you have the full experience, but
No.
people can join in if they've got any good ideas.
All right, and I'm looking at the chat, and yes, we love the Derry girls. Oh, brilliant. Du weißt, dass, so you know Dr. Otis sent a spy, but where exactly did he come from? Okay, so I expect it's somewhere here. Should we go on hint? You can open your mics if you want to. Should we go on hint 1? Yes.
Yeah.
Hint 1.
Hint 1 works.
Just Google it.
So in my escape rooms, Googling is always allowed because normally students who know the vocab know the vocab will still have an advantage because it's always quicker to know the vocab than to look it up. So, but I don't want them to get completely stuck. So they're always allowed to look it up. And sometimes, like in this case, I want them to learn something new. So they just need to find out.
So by Google it, it's telling me now you want me to Google the name.
Yeah, I mean, you could skip to hint 2. It will make it slightly easier.
Hint 2, right, hint 2. So, yes, and I could have done this, couldn't I? So here we know about Dr. Oetker. German,
especially the right-hand side is quite useful.
So where does he come from? Oh, Westphalia. So Bielefeld. Is that's the answer, Bielefeld, probably? Yes. So do I go back?
I mean, you could try clicking something wrong on the map as well, just to see what happens.
Okay, on this original map.
Yes.
So if I think it's Dortmund.
You get a lovely picture of Dortmund.
Lovely picture of Dortmund.
Which doesn't really help.
No. Whereas I actually think it's Bielefeld, which is, could somebody help me where it is? Should I be able to see it? Anybody help?
Come on, teamwork here.
There it is. Okay, yes, I can't hear anybody. Oh, Buff Westphalia. Sorry, I'm seeing you. You're allowed to call out as well. Yes. Oh, good. That's great. So you've reached der Kühlschrank, the checkpoint. Fill in the form, submit, then continue below.
Yeah, so this is something that I've added after watching Carmen's presentation last week, where people were discussing how can you check when remote learning, how far the students got, if they've done the task and so on. So I've added this. I mean, obviously in this case, it will only be me who will be able to see it. Yeah. So yeah, you need to make your own PowerPoint, but you could use Microsoft Forms if you're using Microsoft in school, or Google Forms. Yeah.
So I put in my email address. How is the activity going so far? It's fun. Lovely. Submit, yeah? Checkpoint, your response has been recorded.
Okay. Now you down a bit.
I like this. Ihr habt die Wohnung des Spions gefunden. Könnt ihr in seinem Kühlschrank Hinweise finden, an wen seine Geheimnisse verkauft? So, clues. Who's he going to sell his secrets to? Find the questions under the picture. There's the interior view of his fridge.
Yeah, so the fridge is 360 degrees, so have a look around in the fridge. It should work if you're, yeah, there you go. You can really dig for all secrets in there.
All right, so there's a Coke thing up there.
Yeah.
Erdbeer, Hubbub.
Yes, I was very pleased when I found this because it's actually a German fridge as well.
Oh, very good. Heinz. Am I meant to be looking at sort of taking...
Well, you need to find out what the questions are on the other page.
Right. So back there. So the questions are...
So I've shortened it. In the original one, it had a few more questions.
Lovely. So, wie viele Kartoffeln gibt es? So
maybe some audience participation.
Audience participation.
Who knows what Kartoffel means?
Please. What am I looking for?
Potatoes.
Potatoes. So, wie viele Kartoffeln? Also, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, glaube ich. Yeah? Or is there another one hiding there? I think it's just...
If there is, then I didn't see it either.
Right, 6, thank you. Okay, also 6. Okay. Was trinkt er? Coca-Cola? Ja.
Light.
Oh, Coca-Cola Light. Thank you.
It needs to be lowercase, and I think it's spelled the proper way, not the American way. But I mean, you can see what happens if you try to click next to it. If it's wrong, maybe.
Yeah, but I want to be right. Well, I saw the Coke, didn't I? Where is the Coca? At any point, if I'm taking too long, just say get on with it. I'm enjoying this.
Come on, audience. Where was the Coke?
Above you.
Above me. And it is spelt light. Okay. Which is probably how it is spelt. So, oops. Yeah, so light, yeah. Next. Ooh. Past participle of essen. Ich habe, I'm listening to you.
Gegessen.
Ja, gegessen. So, ja?
Ja.
Past participle of trinken. Ich habe
getrunken.
Getrunken. Sehr gut, glaube ich. Also, next. Ja? Ihr habt es gefunden. I found it. So go next. Or do I have to click on there first?
Yeah, go on the link.
But
try to do something wrong on purpose as well, so you see what happens if the students don't get it.
So the spy wants to throw you off with his double talk, but you see through that. So double talk. Add up the numbers. Toast. Toast.
So you need two types of toast. Yeah, that's the easy one. Which one is the more difficult one? Maybe the audience can find it.
Number 6. Because when you drink, you speak a toast in German.
Ah, also 11, yeah? Is that right?
Yeah.
Chips. Also 7 und
Richtig.
15.
Ist das
that's-
richtig? Look at the clue. It says both words need to be in German.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Number 7 is not chips in German.
A chip is also an electronic part, so it might be number 8.
8. So that is going to be, I'm going to deliberately get this wrong to suit you, all right? I know that's wrong. I'd just like you to know that. It is wrong, isn't it?
So go to the next one and see what happens.
Birne. So Birne, I know that one. 13. What else is Birne?
Number 14.
Number 14, that was Kerry. I did
Glühbirne.
7.
Okay, so you can see now that in the one that you got wrong, it gives you a little hint there. So in this case, it just says what you need to do with the numbers to remind the students they need to add them up.
Yes. Okay. And it was, remind me, so it was the chips. It was 8 plus 15, which is actually 23, yeah? Good. Next. Oh, I like this. This is good. You saw right through him. Next.
And try clicking next, but nothing should happen. There you go.
Oh, because I've got to click on this. Der Spion probiert alle Tricks, geheime Nachrichten zu senden. Was bedeuten diese Streifen? So what do these strips mean? Should we look at the hint? Let's look at the hint. Rearrange the letter strips to form German hobby words and find the words in the table below. In the table below where it is. Okay.
Yeah, so maybe check out the table below. Yeah, it opens a new tab each time, so you need to, you're on the wrong page. It needs to be the next one along.
This one. Oh, so
That one, yes. So if you go down a little bit, you'll be able to see the words
so,
or the pictures.
okay, so we've got
So it's out of those. And you might notice there that this is now a genially activity. So if people who've been to the activity last week, the webinar, so that's something I've made on Genially and then embedded in Google. But I can also do it the other way around, and I can make Google Forms and embed them in Genially, which I'll show later.
okay. So I'm a bit stuck here. So what do the strips mean?
You can move them.
Oh, right. Oh.
Mm.
So is it going to make a word or?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Look at the X. That's kind of an unusual letter, so maybe that can help you.
That's the second one. After the F
Yeah,
one
someone is
with
calling out the answer. Ah, yes, saxophone, good. Okay. And can you recognize
But you need
the other
to
words
swap
as
the
well?
2 O's.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Ah.
Mhm.
Oh, look at that. Oh, that's so good. So clavier is clavier is an E. Saxophone, what is a saxophone, everybody?
A.
A.
That's
And
very hard.
Banden is
L.
Mhm.
L, E-A-L.
Hmm.
Oh, lowercase? Or is this not going to be right?
It needs to be uppercase, I think.
Uppercase.
So I've purposely chosen it not to make a word so students can't guess, because otherwise, especially if it's a longer word and it's just one letter, then obviously they can just guess it. But this way, they really have to do all three in this case to get it.
You quickly sorted that out. Do we go on to the link or next?
Mhm. Link.
Link.
Okay, I think this is one of the last one.
Okay, so der Spion versucht Aus dem Land schmuggeln. Oh, I love that word, schmuggeln. Can you find out where she normally goes?
Yeah, so some of you might recognize this is from learningapps.com, which is a really great website, which is also completely free, where you can make different interactive activities. And I've just embedded it into that Google site there as well.
Okay. So now I go to the OK. Just don't forget to click this at the end.
This meaning the tick.
Right, okay. Schweinefleisch. What shall I click on?
Okay. Left or right?
Schnitzel.
You need to drag it in.
Oh.
Yeah, there we go.
Semmelbrösel.
Schnitzel.
Zucker.
Torte.
Kirschen.
All these native speakers in the background. That's cheating.
Öl. Shall I get it wrong and see what happens? What happens if I get it wrong?
It won't tell you until the end.
Right, okay. Sahne.
Schwarzwaldtorte.
So I've got to click that at the end.
Ah, yeah, sorry. It's maybe slightly misleading. You have to click the one that's on the activity. Maybe I should change the instruction to click the link at the end.
No, other people would understand. It's just me. Yeah. Right, so I go like that. Right. And there. You're a true gourmet. Move on to here. Gewonnen. Du hast den Spion gefangen.
Very good.
Now,
okay.
I want to record my.
So as you can see, this time I'm using a Microsoft form just to show that it works with both different types of forms. And then if you're using your school form, then it will always automatically show who it came from, even if they're just, I don't know, write their initials or whatever. You can see who got this far.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And you've seen how long I've taken probably as well, haven't you? On the form, it tells you how long I've been. Shall I stop sharing it now?
Yes, shall I take over?
Sorry about my coughing. That was great.
So let's share. Okay, here we go. Oops, that's the game. Okay, can you see my my screen now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Okay, good. Okay, here's the overview. Quite a lot of points. I'm not sure I get through all of them, but most of them are pretty short anyway. Okay, so we've done the game. And earlier I thought it might be quite nice to have a hashtag, because after last week's session, so many people have shared their cool Genially escape rooms. And just to make them easier to find, maybe if people share MFL escape rooms, then people can find it if anyone does a nice escape room after this, or with the Genially one as well. Okay, then the story. So I'm going to first walk through how I would plan it out, and then I'll show you how to make the forms, which are kind of the most important part because they're the locks here. Okay, so for the story, I think you need to ask yourself, would this make a good film? Would this make a good book? It needs to be stakes that the students care about, because I've seen escape rooms online where the story is, oh no, the teacher's locked into the room, you have to rescue them. And I think, my students might not want to rescue me. Or something like, the library has lost all the books. Oh no, but would the students care? So I think if it's either something like, you have to rescue the school Wi-Fi, I think they would probably care much more. Or if you make up a more fantastical story like, oh, there's a alien invasion or something. So if you look at real escape rooms, they kind of have these typical themes like alien, spy, crime, exploration, and history. So something like World War or something. So I think they're quite good themes to start with. And if you're using some ideas from Genially as well, they have templates there for these different themes as well, especially if you have got the pro version, but even in the free version there are a few there. Okay, then you need to decide on the setup, and Carmen spoke about this last week as well a little bit. So there are two different ways of setting up your escape room, the linear way and the non-linear way. So in the one that we just did, it was very linear because you had to answer one question to get to the next page, and so on. And then in the end, you win, which means if you get stuck, you can't go any further. So you need to really make sure there are enough hints there, or the students can ask for help, so they don't get frustrated with that. It makes most sense to do it like this. Obviously, if there's a story progression or a history. So for example, I've got an escape room about the Berlin Wall. So it starts in 1945 and then goes all the way through history to 1989, 89 when the wall fell. So it makes sense to have it in that order. But another way is to give them all the questions in one go. So have one page which has links to all the different puzzles, and they can decide which order they want to do it in. And after they collected all the answers, they can then put that in one big log, which then leads to victory. Or the third way is, especially if you're in a classroom, you might want to split it up so different teams solve different puzzles. And that is really what it's most like in real life escape rooms outside of school, that you do it with a group of friends, everybody runs in one corner and does their own thing. So yeah, it depends how you want to split it up. I mean, the first two are kind of easier to organize. The last one means that not everybody's doing all the tasks, which might not be ideal. Okay, so here's one which is a non-linear kind of example. So I've given them a timetable, and each of the subjects they can click on and then get a different puzzle about German, about math, and so on. And they get the form at the beginning with all the subjects, but they can decide which order they do it in. And if they're team working, they could do different ones and then come back together and say, oh, I found the key, the password for biology, and then put it in. Okay, so then, as I said earlier, to check their progress, if they've actually done the task or how far they got at the end of the lesson, you can either insert some forms like I did. You could ask them to send you a screenshot. So if you're doing remote learning, they can just email you the screenshot to prove it. I mean, they can cheat a bit because they could just all share one screenshot, but you just have to hope they're honest. Also, I would ask them to bookmark the last page they got to at the end of the lesson, because as you saw, it opens a new page with Google Sites every time they go through one puzzle. So this way, they don't have to start all the way at the beginning again, but they can carry on from last time. Or I could give them the link. So if they say, oh, miss, I got to the part with the fridge or whatever, then I can quickly just get them there. Or if a link is broken or something, then I can just skip it by giving them the link to the next page, which hopefully wouldn't happen. Okay, as I said earlier, I normally try to make videos. So here's some good pages where you can make free videos, and it's really, really easy. So the first one that you saw with the spy thing, that was from Powtoon, and just a template where you literally just change the text and it's done. So that's really easy. And there's a few other ones as well. So Powtoon is for explainer videos. So they have lots of graphics. You can make your own one, which then gets a bit more complicated, but it looks really good at the end. And then Animoto, some people might notice for their holiday photos, you can make videos that are up to 30 seconds long, I think. And you literally just chuck some photos in, put some subtitles on, and you've got a film. And it will do all the sound, like put nice music in the background, so it looks a bit more professional. And then, well, Joe has demonstrated very nicely the other day what you can do with iMovie when he did his trailer for the webinars. So if you've got an iPad, but iMovie you have to pay for, so the other ones are free, but this one you have to pay. Good. By the way, I'm going to share a link to this PowerPoint at the end. So all these links will be in there, so you don't necessarily need to write them down now. Okay, then another great way of getting the students excited to start with a story is having items that look real, but aren't necessarily real. And researching this, I was quite shocked how much you can fake. Obviously, I'm only going to use it for good educational purposes, but you can get a fake newspaper, fake train tickets, fake receipts, like you can see on the pictures here, and you can really change it a lot. You can even change the address of the shop. You can change the items that were bought. You can put them all into French or German or whatever. So it really makes it a bit more fun. And you could either actually print them out and put them around your classroom if you're in class, or even give them like a week before and say, "Oh, I found this mysterious train ticket, and next week we're going to find out who it belongs to." Or you can add it to your site. So I can show you, hopefully this one works. A bit difficult to get to my tabs here with the thing at the top. So this is an escape room I've made on Genially. So I've just added, some of it is just random photos of the internet. Some of them are these fake train tickets and fake receipts there, just to make it a bit more exciting. Okay, then here's a nice example of a fake text message. Okay, so what are you doing? Just solving some escape rooms. And you can change everything. You see, I've even changed the provider there to TiLT, and you can make it look really realistic and have a little, that would also be a really easy introduction to the story. Like, oh, you get this text message from whatever, and you need to solve the crime there if you don't have time to make a whole video. Okay, so now we come to the important part, namely how to make those forms and set them up that you can use them as a log. And I've got a YouTube video for that. So this is more for people who are missing this really, and then they can look at it later, or if you need to walk through it step by step again. Okay, so you need a Google account to make this. The students don't. So once you've made it, they can access it without logging in, but you need one to make it. But if you've got a Gmail account, then you automatically have a Google account anyway, and you can just set one up for free. So, so if you're on your Google Drive, you go to New, More, and then you get to Forms. So I guess lots of people have made forms before for surveys and so on, but I just show how to make it into a log. So in this case, I've got my question. So I change this to what is the password? And then I need to change it to a short answer. And then really important, it needs to be required. Then you click the 3 buttons and go to response validation. This is the important part. So this makes sure that it has to be a specific answer to go on to the next bit. So in this case, let's say it's a word. So we go to regular expression. So not text, but the bottom one there. Change the middle bit to matches. And then we write in, I don't know what our password is. Let's have the password as TiLT. There you go. And I really recommend changing the custom error text. Because if it's a number, it will tell them the answer. So it will say the answer needs to be 7, which is a bit stupid. So change it. The main mistake people make is capital letters. And especially if they're on mobile devices like an iPad, it will always automatically turn it into a capital at the beginning, which is annoying. So you need to always tell them all capital letters or lowercase, start with a capital letter. So they really make sure, because unfortunately the Google Forms are always case sensitive. And yeah, so having extra spaces can sometimes create problems, unfortunately. So give them as much hint there as possible. Maybe tell them how many letters it needs to be, how many digits it needs to be if it's a number, anything to help them to get it. So I'll skip this for now. So let's say this is the only question I'm asking. So what's the password? So they've solved some jigsaw puzzle or whatever, which is given them this. Now I need to add a section to my form, which is the bottom one here. So sections. Okay, so this means they only get to the bottom section if they've completed the top section. So only if they've put in TiLT will it then continue to the next section. So here I can now say you have 1, if this is the end, or as I did in the example escape room, you can have the link to the next page. Or if you want to have it all in one, it could just, or if you're using it in together with Genially, for example, it could give them another pass number, a pass code that they then have to put together with other ones at the end to get kind of the overall solution. So put in either link to your next form, to your next page, or another passcode. So you could also tell them, you need to tell me the password to prove that you've completed the whole escape room, for example. Then a really good tip that took me a while to work, to discover really. As you saw earlier, Helen wasn't quite sure if she should click next or if she needs to click the link. So to avoid them clicking next, which then means it will just say, thank you for submitting your form, and the link is gone. And then they have to do the whole puzzle again to get back to it, which is really annoying. So to avoid that, what you do is add another section down here. And in the middle section here, I change it that after section 2, which is this one, I want to go back to you have won, which means that if they click next, it will just stay on that thing until they finally worked out that they need to click the link. Okay. Yeah, so this is a good trick. So they will never see that bottom section because you can't get there because it will be in a loop here. Okay. Good. So now we've got our form. Just call it TiLT, whatever. And now you can do two things with it. So either you embed it into a Google site, or you embed it into a into a Genially escape room, or obviously you could just share the form itself. So you could just have a really simple escape room that just consists of a form and then lots of puzzles that are somewhere else online, research they have to do, links to other apps and so on. Okay. So let's say you want to embed this into a Google site. You don't need to do anything because it automatically saves. It's in my Google Drive now, so all good. If you want to embed it into something else like Genially, you go to Send and then get the embed code here. So I'll do this for now. I'll just copy this, copy, yes. And now I can embed this, or I could just send the link to this form directly to my students. Okay, so let's say we want to put this onto our Genially page. So I'm not going into too much detail because if you haven't seen the presentation last week, how to make a Genially and what activities you can do with it, then just go to Joe Dale's YouTube channel and then you can see the webinar there. But let's say I've got this puzzle. This is just a standard template that you can get. The students have solved the puzzle. They're now here. And I can now go to Insert, Other, and I paste in that link I've just copied. And ta-da, it's now created my form onto that Genially page. Okay, and now if I go into full view mode, this is what it would look like, and they can fill it in that, which would then give them a link or answer or whatever. Okay, so this is also a really good way of them checking their answers, because the problem with Genially is that it's not so easy for the students to know if they got everything right so far. And this way they can check it more often in between, because it will give them the feedback straight away if they put it in right or wrong. Okay, so let's say we don't want to do Genially, but we want to do a kind of easier version and do a Google site. So I go to my Google Drive again, go to New, go to More, and Google Sites, here we go. And this creates a web page for me now. So I can show you the one that Helen was working on. So that's this one. This is the editor view now. So I can see all the pages that I've created. So each one is a separate page. And I could add that form that I've created. Let's say I want to put this at the end here. I just click onto the page. Theory, it's loading. There we go. Click onto the page, go to the drive symbol, and then go to recent. And because I've just created it, it should be at the top. because it's automatically saved onto my drive. Well, kind of at the top, here we go. So TiLT, and I can just click on it, insert it, and hey presto. Okay. What you obviously need to do is you need to create all the pages first and then publish it to be able to share the links to each separate page. Because in this case, like Helen, I didn't want her to be able to go to the winning page before she'd done all the other ones. So she had to work her way through all the different links. So to prevent her from getting to the page before is go over the page name, and then there are these 3 dots. You click there and say, so normally it would show the page, but now I need to say hide from navigation, which means it doesn't come up anywhere in the menu, because I can show you what it looks like if it's shown. Now I can see it at the top, so the students could just skip to the last page, which obviously you don't want. So make sure you hide all your pages before you're handed out. And I need to click publish. I'm not doing it now because it takes too long, a few seconds to load. Once I've published it, each of my pages has an individual web address. So to get the link to this individual page, I go to the top here and there's the little link button. And then I can say copy link. And now I would need to go back to my form that I've made on Google Drive and add that link to the end of the form. So it's a little bit of jumping to and fro. So if you know which pages you're going to have, create them first. Make sure you publish your link, your site, because before you've published it, you will only get kind of the main link, but not the individual ones. And then you can add it into all the forms. Okay. So yeah, in a Google site, so they are really easy to make. They're basically like a PowerPoint or like a OneNote page or whatever. You can add, you can embed things. You can really easy just add more text to it. You can have different backgrounds. There are lots of templates there as well, which you can use, but you can upload your own custom backgrounds if you want. You can have YouTube videos embedded. It has different layouts, so really easy to make a quick website. So I can recommend it for other things as well if you just want to show something about a trip, for example. The disadvantage is they're not interactive, except if you add a form, then people can fill it in, or if you embed things from other pages like Genially or learning apps. Okay, are there any questions on how to make the forms or the sites? I mean, I didn't go into too much detail, but there's lots online you can find.
I think that's okay. We had one question from Laurence, which is which part of Google Drive are these slides from? But I think you answered that by talking about the forms. So the Google Sites itself is not saved in Drive, I think. Is that right? But the forms are.
Yeah. No, the site is also saved in Drive. Yes. Okay.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, but it's not. When I click publish, it's then public. Earlier, Helen was trying it out, and there was a problem with it that she couldn't access my site. So we worked out that what she needed to do, or what I needed to do, rather. Let me find the site. So here's the site I've made. So you need to click on it, and how did I do this again now? In the so once you've made the site, to really make sure that everybody can access it, you need to click on it in your Drive and then go to the share button there and make sure that it is set to here, so sharing. So the published site is public. Anyone on the internet can find it and open it. Okay, so in theory they could search for it, but it's quite unlikely to come up at the top, so you need to share the link. Yeah, but just make sure that it doesn't say restricted, which was the problem earlier.
But presumably if you were working in a Google school with its own domain, you wouldn't have to make it public, or would you still have to make it public anyway?
I don't know. I work in a Microsoft school, so
Okay,
I'm not
fair
sure.
enough.
You still have to make it public, Joe.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, that's great.
But it's
So just to, yeah. Go on, Kerry.
automatically not viewable by all, but you need to make it that the published version is going to be can be viewed by all. But
Okay.
the draft version, which is the version you are working on, you can either keep that to yourself or you can share it with a couple of colleagues if you're working on it departmentally.
Okay, that's great. I can see Marion has said the same thing in the chat as well. That's lovely. So essentially what we're seeing here is we're seeing the Google Sites with the interactive elements are the genially embed that you've put in, as well as the forms, be it Google Forms or Microsoft Forms or the learningapps.org content as well. But everything else is the static Google Sites. That's great. We've got a question from Chloe. How many slides do you usually do for 1 hour for a 1 hour activity?
Yeah, it's not so easy. I would say about 7 to 8 different puzzles. But then obviously depends how difficult it is, if they have to do lots of research, how motivated they are, if they're team working and all these things. So sometimes it's worth trying it out. But if you're in an actual lesson in a classroom where you have only limited time, you could just try it out. And then when you get, I don't know, towards 10 minutes to the end of the lesson, you could just give them a link to a later page so they can skip a few. So you could say, oh, as soon as you get to the side with the fridge, let me know and I give you the link to the last second to last page or something.
So it's not possible to track how long they've been on the site for, is it? I don't think.
I don't think so, no. I mean, as I said, I normally just use it in my classroom. So I haven't really used it that much for remote learning. But I found that remote learning, I mean, I've done one of them. It's important to have lots of hints in there, which normally in a classroom I wouldn't necessarily have. Just to help them along a bit more when you're not there.
Okay. Now you said that you're working in a Microsoft school. So we've got a question from Lilium, which is it easy to transfer your escape rooms that you've made in Google Sites to Teams? We're only allowed to use Teams, not Google Classroom. So presumably you would make the sites using your personal Gmail account and then give the links in Teams. Is that right?
Yeah, because the students don't need to have a Gmail account. It's just the public sites. It's just like sharing, I don't know, a YouTube video or a link to something else like Linguoscope or something. So you can't embed it into OneNote, but you can just put the link in and share it this way.
So how do you share the ones that you make? And do you share them in Teams via the link?
I just put the link in there. Yeah.
Okay.
And then, I mean, the students would then need to send you back their screenshots if you haven't got a form embedded, but they could just put that into OneNote or a Word document and email it to you or something.
Lovely. That's perfect. Thank you. I see Helen's put a link in the chat about Teams escape rooms.
I mean, just to say I've done a very simple search because you mentioned what made me think about it was you said about using OneNote. And I thought, yes, there are ways that you can put, I don't know it that well, but it looks as if someone has done it. And I don't know. I put it there just in case anybody wanted to follow it. It's the sort of thing which if you do a search, there are people.
I mean, you could just put the form or the links to the form into a OneNote page, then put all the puzzles into your OneNote page. So if the puzzles are, I don't know, a crossword puzzle or a link to learning apps, just put them all around and they have to do them all and then open that link to the Google form, which has maybe all the questions in it. So it might say, what did you find in puzzle 1, 2, 3? And they put it all in. And then at the end, it would just say, yay, well done, you won. The code word is, I love German, tell your teacher, and then you win. And I mean, when I do this in a classroom, I like to have an actual lock at the end. So I normally put some sweeties in my cupboard, lock it, and then have the key in an envelope. And then I have 5 different envelopes on my table. And each one has a different word or different picture on it. And I have to solve the escape room to know which picture it is. And then they can grab the envelope. And maybe you remember, Helen, from last year when we did it at the conference, that then everybody jumps at the envelopes and runs to the cupboard and tries to find it first, and it's kind of the fun element, which unfortunately at the moment is a bit lost. But in the classroom, I would definitely recommend mixing it in with real life things, so they're not just on their screens. And also really important, do it in teams, in small groups. So I wouldn't do more than 3 on one device, and I normally have a limit. So if they're working in a team, maybe one person can have the main device, one person can have a device to look things up, and then the third person can be in charge more of the paper puzzles, and then they need to work together to solve it. I would say I wouldn't get every student in the team to work on the same side, because then they're not really teamwork and they're just working next to each other. So yeah.
I think it's fascinating, and certainly, I mean, that little link I gave you, I've just looked at one page, and obviously there is a way of having password protection tool within OneNote. So that would be
you could I guess you could hide the password.
So if there's a way
that's quite good,
going from page to page rather than from site to site. So if you're
you could, I mean, I think a Google site, and especially a Genially site, looks a bit fancier because you can have more pictures, and and it's really easy to make, and it doesn't cost anything. So yeah.
Great.
I just wanted to quickly show how you put a link into a picture that's hidden. So you might recognize this from the beginning of the escape room, where I had to find out where Dr. Oetker was from. So how I did it is, there is a text box here that doesn't have any text in it, but instead just a link. So if let's say I wanted to, let's say Cottbus is our correct answer, I would choose the text box icon there, put it around Cottbus, and now I right click onto the form. Hopefully, I think is it working? Sorry, it is working normally. There we go. So now and then it says here link. So link, and now I could just put in a link. I don't know, just do Google. So, and apply, and now you see it's invisible. So if this is embedded in my page, then the students can't see where the links are hidden. They really need to know where it is. Click on it and will then open Google. But on some devices, when they go over the text box, their cursor changes from a mouse cursor to hand. So they kind of find it this way. So the way around it is like I did. I just put boxes around lots of different towns, kind of as red herrings, and they have links to random things. You could just link it up to a picture that says fail or wrong way or something. So they can't just find it by chance, basically. And what is really important, though, is you need to make the picture public. And that's something that I have forgotten in the past, which is very annoying. So you need to go to share, and down here you need to change it that it says anyone on the internet with this link can view, because by default it's on restricted, or only people in your organizations can see it. So make sure you change it, and also that you change it to viewer and not editor, otherwise they can mess up your picture and your links. So they should be able to view it but not edit it. And once you've done that, so this is again saved into my my Google Drive automatically. And when I go back into my site somewhere, if I go back into my site, I can now go to the Drive symbol, find it in there, and add it in really easily. And it will embed it automatically. How I got this in here. Listen, there we go. So there is a reason why I'm using Google and not Microsoft Forms. As far as I know, it doesn't work with Microsoft Forms because they don't have that restricted option that it has to be a certain word. I think you can restrict it that it has to be an email address or that it has to be a number, but you can't say exactly which number or which word needs to be in there. At least at the moment. So as far as I know, it only works with it only works with Google. But that doesn't stop you from embedding your Google form into a Word document or PowerPoint or whatever you're using. Okay, so here are a few ideas for puzzles. And I've already mentioned a few of them. So Genially, definitely a good place to check out. It just makes it look way fancier. You can't even tell that it's a website anymore. It looks more like an app or a computer game, I think. So definitely a good place to go. Learning apps, I've mentioned, I just quickly show. If you haven't come across this before, this is a really good website. I've already actually recently used this, but it has lots of different activities and it's all free. You can make a free account and create these games and save them. So like this game we had with the food, with the 2 different recipes, that was the matching one, but you can make jigsaw puzzles, you can make a timeline, lots and lots of different activities here, and they're really easy to make. Yeah, so definitely a good place to go. And as I said, you can embed it then. And so the way I did it was that you create the game and the link or the password they need is in the feedback. So they only get it after they've solved the whole thing. Then another one is Puzzle Maker, which I assume quite a lot of people know already. If not, you don't know what you're missing. So this is a free website where you can make crossword puzzle, word searches, and so on. So these are more if you're actually in a classroom, because most of them I think are quite hard to do on a screen, because really you need to print them out or you need to be able to write into it. But recently I've discovered this website, which is called Word Labs, which is really useful for making crossword puzzles that are online. So here's an example. So you just put in your word, you put in the definition, and you can create a password if you want. So the students can't see the answers, but apart from that, you just save and finish, and it's made this nice online crossword. And I can just click in there. Ooh, flying mammal. I don't know, was it a bat or something? Number 3, man's best friend. That was a dog, and so on. Yeah, so this is really great. And then you could embed this by clicking share. You get either just a link, or you get the embed code to put it into your Google site or into your Genially site. And they can do this crossword puzzle. And then, for example, the clue could be, I don't know, take the 3rd letter of the 4th clue, or take the letter where number 1 and number 4 crosses, or whatever. So this could be part of a puzzle. And then Pinterest is a really good place to find loads of ideas for different puzzles. So if you just type in escape room, there are just millions of ideas for teachers, for parties, for everything. So if you're using this PowerPoint later, this one links to my board, but there are lots more and probably lots better ones as well. Okay, then just I wanted to show 2 puzzles which I really like using.
Julia, before you do that, we just got a couple of questions, if that's okay. So Julie in the chat has said about Puzzle Maker. Is it free to print? Do you know?
Yes.
It is.
It's free to print. You can't save it on the website. So once you've made it, you have to just take a screenshot of it. Yeah. Okay, fantastic. And then Jonathan has been saying, this is clearly a lot of work you've been doing, which is wonderful. What advice would you give to those people just starting out? For example, are there templates out there that you could customize, or how did you get started personally, Julia, with escape rooms? Yeah, so it does sometimes take time. As we saw this week on Twitter, using the Genially templates is really good. And they actually have a special section which is called breakout games, which already has the right background, has some ideas for puzzles. So that's definitely a really good place to start. And Pinterest, as I said, has lots of ideas. When you first start, what I would do is write down a list of the things that you want to cover. So in the example one, it was food items, recipes, cultural background, like looking into a German fridge, hobbies. So I've got my list, and then I try to collect some puzzles. I mean, I've made a list of loads and loads of puzzles for myself, and I'm just working on making it into a book, which might be ready in the summer, but it's not quite ready yet. I mean, yeah, I don't want to sell any stuff, but there's also stuff on TES you can get where I've got my list of puzzles. But if you Google it, you find lots of different ideas, I think. And then I would match up the puzzles with your topics, decide which order they go in so that you don't have the same type of puzzle next to each other. So maybe have one that's more based on pictures, one more based on matching up vocab, one based on reading or something. So you have a nice mix. And then once you've decided on a table, or maybe before you decided on the table completely, decide on your story. So is this going to be aliens? Is this going to be spy? I mean, it depends a little bit on the topic as well. So I've done an escape room on numbers where it's all alien themed, because I'm saying, oh, you can only communicate with the aliens with numbers, and they all have to be in German for some random reason. But yeah, or in this case, it was food. So I wanted someone trying to steal our fish and chips, which I thought the students would be very upset about.
So basically, choose the story. Choosing the story first of all. Choose the topic you're going to cover within the story, and then plan it according to whether you want a linear version or a non-linear version, the way that you described. That's great.
Yes.
We just got a question from Mart Willman, which is, can you upload that earlier escape room, the one that you made in Google Drawings, with links directly into a forms quiz? I'm not sure if that's possible, because you can put in an image and a YouTube clip. I don't think you can embed a Google drawing, could you?
But the picture itself has a link, so you could just put the link to that picture. Right. But then, actually, I think they would be then able to click on it if they open it in a new tab.
Yeah, so you could have maybe a picture. I don't know if you can have a picture which has got a link, hyperlink to it if you click on it. I'm not sure, but certainly you could have the picture, and then in the description you could have a link to the Google Drawing link that you would then go to a new tab, as you say. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
fantastic.
You just need to make sure that you set it on viewers can't edit, because otherwise they can just move stuff around. So yeah.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so I just wanted to share my two kind of favorite puzzles that I like using, that I found somewhere online and kind of adapted a little bit. So one of them is the string puzzle here. So you can see I've got a paper version of it, which looks like this. So the idea is that you've got a list of vocab on one side and on the other side, and then some random numbers and letters in the middle. And the students need to match it up with a string. So they start from the top notch on the left, like here. So they start with mouse. They put the string around to mouse, and then the string would come out, and they then go to Hund, and then match up Hund with dog, and so on, and then string the string around to Katze, and so on. And then in the end, they end up with something like this. And some of the numbers and letters will be crossed out, like this one in the middle here. We can't see that anymore, but some of them will still be invisible. It will be visible between the strings, and they then make up the passcode. So that's quite a nice way. And if you don't have a paper version, at first I had a PowerPoint version, which is this one. So if the students see the PowerPoint, so look at the PowerPoint in edit mode like this, so not as a presentation, they can move this around. So they can just take the red string and just match it up, dog, and so on, and kind of do the same thing like the string, but digitally. And now, well, recently I've discovered Genially, I might have mentioned, and so I've made a version in there as well, which should not look like this. Here we go. Here's my nicer background. So I've just got my string kind of lying around, and they have to work out that A goes with A, and they need to kind of try which of the strings will actually match the things up. So H goes with H, so they do this. And then here, number 1 would be crossed out, but this number 1 would still be visible in the end. Okay. My other favorite one is the wheel, which looks like this. So either, again, paper version or PowerPoint version. So they get a clue, something like this. If destroyed is F, what is plants? So the clue needs to be in a different language. So in this case, English from the actual wheel. So my wheel is in German, the clues are in English. So we've got if destroyed is F, what is plants? Okay, some audience participation. How do you say destroyed in German? Come on, which of the words on my wheel is it? Zerstört. Okay, so zerstört is there. So it says zerstört needs to be F. So I take the wheel here and turn around. Where's F? Where's F? So I can still, while they're turning it, they can still kind of see the words a little bit. I don't know if you can see it on the screen. So now zerstört is on F. Good. What is plants? So how do I say plants? Pflanzen. Okay, so pflanzen here. So my answer is 2. Okay, so my first answer would be 2. Then I do the same with deads and concrete and so on, and they might have 4 or 5 clues that I need to solve. And each time they need to turn the wheel again, either on this PowerPoint or on their paper version. I think the paper version is more kind of fun because it's more tactile. And I've got a Genially version as well. But as far as I know, on Genially, you can move things, but you can't turn them. Or at least I haven't worked out how to do that yet. If anyone knows how to do that, I would be grateful. So instead, I kind of made it a more linear version. So here we've got if good is 59, what is useless? So I need to find good on my thing. Here we go. I need to go next to 59. There we go. And then my other word is useless. Or look, useless. Where's useless? Might be more at the top. No, can someone see it?
Nutzlos.
Nutzlos, yeah, where's Nutzlos? There. Yes, there we go. So Nutzlos in this case would be number 23. Okay, and then it gives them the clue, and then at the end they have to, I don't know, add up all the numbers or use them to get into a lock of some sort.
So we've got another couple of questions, Julie, if that's okay. So with the what you've just shown us for Genially, is that still in the free version or is that paid version?
Yeah. I mean, this one isn't a template, so I made this one myself. The background is a template that it has these numbers, but the rest I've just made myself.
Right, and then in that PowerPoint, the wheel, you just made that from scratch?
Yes.
Brilliant, okay.
So this took quite a long time to get it all in the right place. But yeah, once you've got it, you can then change it to for all your topics, and you just change the vocab.
I just wondering if you had 2 wheel of names side by side, it maybe would do the same thing. You know, the wheel of names activity, and if you had 2 of them side by side, and then you span both of them, they would both come up with random.
But then it's random. Can you choose what they go on?
No, it does it randomly.
It doesn't really work because it would give each student a different answer then.
Right. Okay.
I mean, I guess if the options are small enough that they can just keep going until they've got the right one, but still, well, no, it wouldn't match up with the right number, so it doesn't quite work.
And Kerry's just asked whether you'd be happy to share the template or not.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Some of
them.
Very
kind. Thank you.
But the one in Genially, you might, I don't know if you noticed, so this one I've made reusable. So at the bottom here, you can see, want to make creations as awesome as this one, reuse this Genially. So you can just click there and then add it to your own one in there. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Then do we still have time for me to show the color changing spreadsheet? Exciting times.
If people are happy to stay, I'm more than happy to stay. If people are happy to stay, then I can see Julie is happy to stay in the chat.
And we can always watch it. People who go, we've said that from the outset, that if they need to go, and they can watch it afterwards. So if you're happy, Julia, that'd be great. Look at that. Yes. Barbara's shouting.
Okay. Good. So it's a bit slow loading. So this is an activity which isn't so good on students' devices if they don't have Excel or Google spreadsheets on there. I don't know. I mean, something went wrong. Oh, that is a pity. Let's do it differently. Yes, so this is maybe more an activity if they're actually in school and they have a school laptop, then it would work. It probably works in the web version of Excel. So what it does is, depending on what you put into the spreadsheet, it will change the color of the cells. So it's kind of, you can make a question and answer game, which then gives them a color code. And I really always try to have different types of codes so that for each activity I do, they get something different out of it. So sometimes they might get numbers and letters, sometimes they get a code word, and in this case they get a color. So my question on my Google form, which is my log, would then be, what is the color code? B is blue, R is red, G is green, and they would then have to write RGB to open the log. And so I'll show you how it works. I do it in Excel first because that's a bit easier, but I'm sure you can do it in Google's spreadsheet as well. Google Sheets, that's what it's called. There you go. Okay, so we put in our question, what is the capital of Germany? Okay, so that's our question here. It might be good to indicate some way that the students need to put it in that box there. So maybe put at the top question and answer. So now I click on this answer box and I go to conditional formatting. And then I go to new rule and format only cells that contain. So the second option there. There is a video online on this as well if you need to look it up again. So now we want a cell, a specific text in there, namely containing Berlin. And only to fill in Berlin, we want to change the color of the box. So we go to format and fill, and now we go with blue. Okay. Okay, so then now if I write in Berlin and go to the next box, ta-da, it's turned blue. If I write anything else, let's say Paris, then hopefully it won't do that. Okay, so that's a really quick way for the students to see, A, that they've got the answer right, and also to kind of make it more interesting to have that color element as well. And that could then take them, I don't know, into a different log, or they need it for a different task, like find the item on the picture that has those colors that you just got in that table, for example. There are a few other things you can do with this as well, that it comes up with arrows instead of colors. So if you type in Berlin, it would have an up arrow. If you type in, oh no, actually that only works with numbers. So it would be that if you type a number smaller than 60, it will have an up arrow and so on, which then in the end gives them a pattern of direction. So they would need to say, okay, I need to go up, left, up, right, which then could, for example, lead them the way through a maze on a page, and they need to go all the way through the maze, which then gets them to a certain picture. So I've used this in my Berlin Wall escape. So only if they got the arrows right, it will show them the picture of their long lost friend from the east who they have to meet at the wall. And then that's the last puzzle, and they can then find his poster in the classroom, get the key to the sweeties and so on. So yeah, that's just a different puzzle idea. Well, there's some questions. I can see it keeps on flashing up when people posting something.
I don't think there are any questions. I think that we've answered all the questions so far.
Okay, that's good. Good.
But yeah, people are loving it.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you.
Okay, and what? Two more things. Somewhere I came up. Yeah, so two more things. So I've been running an after-school escape room club as well in my school, both in my last school and in my new school, which is mainly for sixth form students. But I've also done some lunchtime sessions with year 9 and year 10. So they are not necessarily specific to languages, and I just quickly wanted to share what I did there. There are two things that you need to pay for, which I've used, which is the exit games, which look like this one. Some people might have played them. They're kind of like a tabletop game where you get different clue cards. So that's quite fun. It's also quite good to give you maybe some more puzzle ideas, but they cost about 12 quid or so, so it's not very cheap. There's also a website called Lock, Paper, Scissors, where they do print out escape rooms. They're mainly for parties, so for kids' parties and so on. But my absolute favorite is Escape This Podcast, which is really, really cool and could also be used for language lessons, or I have used it for language lessons. So what it is a podcast by an Australian couple, and the Danny, the woman, she makes up escape room stories, and they always start with her describing a room. For example, the dentist. You wake up in a dentist chair, you're in a dentist office, there's the desk, there's a certificate on the wall, there's a water tap and so on. And then the guests who come onto the show will then say, oh, what happens if I turn on the tap? And then says, oh, it doesn't work, it seems to be broken, maybe you need to investigate. And then they investigate, fix the tap, and out of the tap falls a key, which they can then use on the desk, blah, 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 blah. And the good thing is that they always publish their stories. So you can just go onto their website, download any of their stories. You need a game master to read it out, and then you need people playing. So it really only works in smaller groups. So I wouldn't really do it with a whole class of 30. But if you have a club or a sixth form class, which maybe only has 6-7 students in it, then you can do it. And what I've done is just literally taken the whole script, chucked it into Google Translate. I know, terrible, bad example, but it's made a really quick translation. I mean, I had to tweak it a little bit, but I then actually played it with my sixth form students, and they really enjoyed playing it, and they learned some vital vocab like torch and key and block and hiding and searching. So, and it's just a fun end of term activity, I would say, and also really practices their listening skills, practices imperative, saying open the door or use the lock on this and so on. So that's a nice idea. And are there any questions at the moment? Otherwise,
there aren't any questions, but we've got the quote of the century, which is from Laurence. So many ideas. I don't want to escape the TiLT Zoom room with Julia, which is lovely.
I forgot to put this on my PowerPoint, but I wanted to share this link actually with everyone. This is an advent calendar I've made. So I'm happy to share this one. Normally, all the pages would be hidden, but for now I've unhidden them all so that everybody can look at all the pages, even if you don't have editing rights. And yeah, so it's an escape room. It's kind of themed here. What's it called? Nightmare Before Christmas. Is that what it's called? And well, obviously it has 24 pages because it's an advent calendar. It's not language specific, but most of the puzzles could be turned into language specific puzzles. So I've designed this for my sixth form tutor group. So the idea was that in the 24 days leading up to Christmas, we would play one of these activities every morning during tutor time. And I've just, chucked in a different puzzle every day. So some simple ones, just like a rebus puzzle. Here's a fun task with find the weird words on the map. I had a lot of fun looking at maps from different countries and finding weird names they have, like gold. I know first they had to find numbers in names. So they have something like Seven Oaks and Eta Island and so on. And then I also had to find some funny names like, I don't know, Cockpit Country and whatever. So I'm happy to share this escape room. You can't really use it at the moment to play with the class because they can just skip to any page they want to. But it could maybe give people ideas of different activities that you could do in your escape room. And you could still play it with your class if you're in charge of presenting it on the board and they just look at it and you make sure they don't cheat by going to the end. Okay, let me share this. I can put it into the chat if I can find that again. Oh no, I can't find the chat now. How do I do that?
If you click on, I think it's view options, is it? I think.
Here we go.
At the top.
So we can put
That's right.
all of your
There we
any
go.
links we can put onto the website, Julia.
Yeah, I mean,
People can
as I
go
said,
there.
I'm going to share. I can share the PowerPoint now.
Mhm.
Here we go. I put it in the chat. Does that work? Hasn't really done it properly as a link. Sorry. See if I can get the link. Edit the link. Maybe this way. Here we go. I hope maybe someone could try it out with that last link if you can open that PowerPoint now. Can someone tell me if it's
I'm just trying it now. It's saying waiting for
Yes.
OneDrive.
Working.
Okay.
Yeah, it's working. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So in that PowerPoint are all the other links, and I put in the one to the advent calendar as well. Maybe I just put it here. Advent calendar. There we go. Okay. Hopefully that will work. There you go. So yeah, it should auto save. So hopefully it will update for everyone.
Lovely. Thank you so
Okay.
much, Julia. That's amazing.
And with the template for the wheel thing, I'll put it in here as well. Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Then I don't know if there are any more questions.
There were no more questions, just
No.
gushing praise.
Thank you.
Everyone's very grateful. So thank you so much, Julia.
That's
It's
okay.
great.
Yes. Well, you can always ask me on Twitter at Juschmo, so JUSCHMO. And yeah, I'm happy to help with ideas or whatever.
And it's a great idea having
Hopefully
that
a
hashtag.
book coming soon, but
Yeah, that's great. It's great having the hashtag as well, isn't it? So it means everyone can share their ideas.
yeah, that would be
on,
good as well.
on
if people
codes
can use
and
that.
puzzles and things like that. That's really
Yeah,
lovely.
MFL escape room, that would be great, and then people can get more ideas from each other as well.
That was
Lovely.
Good. You're going to show yourself, Joe.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I should start my video now. That's the cue. as
Shall I
it were.
stop
Yeah.
sharing now? Maybe there we
It
go.
was fantastic,
Perfect.
really. And
Yeah.
as usual, if people could open up their videos, that would be great, and their mics, because yes, another fantastic webinar. And I think it complemented so well. You know, a lot of us were there at the other escape room one, and you came along to that, saw what was presented. And I must say that I personally have got much better understanding now as to the workings behind it all. Because I can see how the genially is almost, that's done for you. You click on it, it's a formula. You've really shown us the workings of it, how it works.
Yeah, can I just say a little trick that I worked out today on Genially, making my first one on there as well. So you can do the same as I did on the Google side and just have kind of two different Geniallys and have one which ends in a Google form, and only if they put in all the answers in the Google form, it will then give them the link to the next Genially so they can carry on, or it says, well done, you've won, or whatever. So, yeah.
And that's where I know that was a big question, wasn't it, last time?
Yeah,
was more or
I
less,
don't know.
how do you know
I
they've
haven't
done it?
worked out a way of just giving a link to one slide within the Genially presentation. I don't think it's possible. You can only give a general link to the whole thing. So unfortunately, you have to kind of split it up into separate Genially presentations. But they are free to make, so you can just have as many as you want.
Okay,
Right.
so should we just smile and say, and I do my normal little take a picture of everybody. It goes.
Great
One,
stuff.
2, 3. I'll do another one. Here it goes. And ooh, that's where I always lose it because it goes away. Once more, smiling and clapping. 1, 2, 3. Lovely. Thank you.
Very
And we
good.
had a lovely, lovely number of people there. So good. And that you did absolutely the right thing in continuing just to get, because we just wanted to know everything. So it wouldn't have been right to have stopped it and then done it. You know, you were on a roll, and look at people's faces, all happy there. So,
I'm glad.
and probably I made it a bit longer because I was faffing around a little bit in the game. It was.
I think it's good to see
really
the
good
example,
idea.
though.
Yeah, definitely.
And
It's good to have the example at the beginning, I think, and then to see how to put it together. I think that's very true.
well,
Definitely.
that's something that you said, Joe, right from the beginning when we put these together. You said you like, and I agree, people actually seeing people doing things before your very eyes. And even
Yeah.
if sometimes things go wrong, almost that you can learn a lot through that, can't you? Nothing did
Mm-hmm.
go wrong there, but it's still really, really good. And loads, you're going to love reading all of the comments at the end and throughout.
Thank you.
Really good.
Well, I don't know if people saw at the beginning, there was a link to my website as well, which just has basically everything I just said and has a few video links and so on there as well.
Well, if on the
Just if you want to
the
have
AAA
it.
Can you put that in the chat again, right at the bottom, Julie? Is that okay? Just so that everyone's definitely got it. Thank you.
Yes.
But I will put it all on the site as well. I just collect everything. If you go to that, to the page, I spend quite a long time putting everything together so that it's all there, including, you've got the recording, the chat, and all of the links. So, and Jane wants to learn German now. Now, what a better thing to have.
But the good thing about these escape rooms is any subject. You can do it in math, you can do it primary school, any level really. I made one for my son's birthday, so you don't have to have them for school. We just did a superhero themed one, so yeah.
Well, I was just thinking when people were asking questions about, I think Jonathan said, are there any ready-made ones? And you look, and obviously it's a thing that I just has passed me by, that it wasn't just to do with language teaching, it was people just enjoying themselves. Why not? I think I've got games. I don't know if you can, you can't, you only see the files, but up here, tons and tons of games. Love games, and that's just a lovely idea. And I did think, I know, we're talking about how do we know they've done it. If you are in a position where you have, I just every now and then do live lessons with a small group of children, and I could quite picture doing something like that. The way you did with me there, that one person is sharing their screen and they're all helping, and you're there as the moderator.
Yeah, well, I'm planning one next week for the for a French class, and I'm just going to have different channels on Teams, so they can choose who they want to work with, and I work in a channel each together to have kind of that team working element, which I hope they'll enjoy.
Great idea.
And in this case, they each have it on their screen as well, but at least they should be talking to each other and discussing what could be the next answer and so on. So, yeah.
Really good. Okay, so thank you so much. And as ever, thank you, Joe, for coordinating everything, bringing it all together. Really, really good. Yes, Kerry's there.
No problem. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Oh, and this is where I'll stop the recording. I forget that I'm recording this. So if I do that, stop recording. Okay. Yes, I'll stop. And I'll stop the live stream as well.
Awesome.
So we had one person on the live stream who I think just had gone to the wrong place. I gave them bless. Well, they wanted to come here. It wasn't sort of going